Could not be happier to have Hall of Famer Rick Bozich with us. Rick, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Jim. How are you?
Cannot complain. A little bit of a slower time right now, trying to catch our breath as the basketball slows down. It's not stopped, though. There's still plenty of stuff going on this weekend, AAU stuff, but recruiting slowing a little bit, offers slowing a little bit, so time to catch a little bit of a breath, but stuff still going on.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't yesterday the first day of the first evaluation period where coaches were out in, I believe, Hoover, Alabama, Atlanta, Atlantic City, a couple other spots, looking at players. Saw pictures of, coaches from every program in the country at different locations. And then I know Indiana got a big football commitment, I believe, on Wednesday. And in the word, they're getting another one today.
Very possible. Omar Cooper from Lawrence North yesterday, Donovan McCullough's big-time target who's already at Indiana, and he's going to room with C.J. Gunn, who was found that out yesterday. So kind of a unique thing. But yes, and another potential big one coming in. So big news continuing to come in. Big changes for Indiana. The entire – I mean, you've been around Indiana a long time, and I've talked about this. There are six major programs right now. Both basketballs, football, baseball, soccer, women's soccer,
swimming,
the track, swimming and diving that are elite at top 25. I don't know that has ever happened. Swimming, yes, and basketball, but all of these together at the same time, Indiana's about to enter a golden age in athletics, potentially.
Yeah, they moved up 10 spots, which is a lot in the Directors' Cup series, which is a way they evaluate programs across the board. Men's soccer was their strongest program of all, obviously making it to the championship game before they lost to Marshall. But yeah, you're right. Record-setting year by the women's basketball team. We saw, the baseball team had a solid year until the end. They kind of had some struggles and didn't make the tournament. Men's basketball seems to be on a good track, and of course, football. They're one of the top 2 or 3 stories in the Big Ten going into this year. Ohio State is obviously the team and the story, but you could make a case after that Indiana's getting more attention than it's ever gotten in the offseason in football.
And you talk about the football, the recent commitment, potential more commitments coming, the great transfers that have already hit here, the coaching changes that were all positive, a lot of expectations, maybe more so than ever, going into this September 4th kickoff with Iowa on the football side. But it's a welcome expectation. Crowds coming back. It could be a big year for Tom Allen.
Yeah, and that's the number one thing really I want to see is last year they were 6-2 and no crowds. This year their preseason picked, I've seen 4 or 5 different publications. They're no worse than 3rd in the Big Ten East, and in some of them they're 2nd behind Ohio State. It's between them and Penn State. So will they pack Memorial Stadium? I'm not saying it's the last component, but it's one of the last components that it's time for fans to do their part. If you want a winning program, you got to fill the stadium and fill all your allotted seats. And so when you have games against teams like Ohio State when they come in this year, it's not 20,000 Ohio State fans and 30,000 Indiana fans.
Yeah, because this year when Indiana goes to Ann Arbor, even though Indiana will still be a better team, they might be favored. I don't know up there. But there's going to be a huge difference this year when you have 110,000 people in that stadium. Even though you're the better team, it's a great equalizer that I think Indiana saw last year, not having those fans. That's going to add a level of difficulty to Indiana's schedule.
Well, they got 3 of those games, really. The very first game is at Iowa, which is a tough place to play. They got to play at Michigan, which even though Michigan's team isn't as good as they want to be or used to be, tough place to play. And Indiana has not won there since 1967. And the third one, obviously, is Penn State, which is the top 10 environment in college football. And they certainly remember the way that game ended last year, and they certainly remember the way they played last year. They started slow and finished strong. So those are 3 really challenging road games for Indiana. And even the home schedule. I mean, you got Ohio State at home. You got Cincinnati at home. You can argue that, that's for a Power 5 team, that's one of the 5 or 10 toughest non-conference home games in the country. Like Cincinnati's pretty much consensus top 10.
Oh yeah, and Idaho, while not, it's Bobby Petrino's brother, so who he's been there quite a while from what I remember. So
about a decade.
That'll be fun in and of itself just for that. But they've had some success at their level. It's not like they're a pushover there. So not a new program. So a lot of challenges. Maryland has been on the rise. Rutgers is on the rise. Teams in their division. So it's going to be a challenging year for that program, no question.
Yeah, and they're dealing with expectations, all those different kinds of things. And to me, the thing that I think is going to help them is they've got so many players back. They lost the last game of the season last year, so it's not like they went out on a note where they could pound their chest about how good they were. I mean, they got beat, and deservedly so, by Ole Miss. I mean, Ole Miss outplayed in that game. But Tom Allen and his staff, I think, have done a very good job of bringing in grad transfers, guys who were highly rated recruits from most of them from, top 20 or top 25 programs who I would think they're going to hit on a few of those guys, and they're going to be instant contributors, whether it's the offensive lineman from Michigan or DJ Matthews at slot receiver or the running back from Southern Cal or the wide receiver from Texas A&M or even the defensive lineman from Northern Illinois who did play a ton. Indiana's always had an issue, and most teams in the Big Ten have an issue with depth because you do get guys injured, and I think they've solidified their depth for this year with the grad transfers they brought in.
Absolutely, and we've got the Big Ten Media Days coming up in just 2 weeks.
Yeah,
which is it's in Indianapolis.
Chicago too.
And I said, I'm just going to say, is that just something else that's boding well side of the Big Ten championship? I mean, just keep adding it on and on and on. It would just be crazy, but it's going to be a fun year regardless, just to see fans back in football stadiums, period. I cannot wait to walk outside and hear that on a kickoff. I mean, it's missed. It's just not as – I can't imagine – what it's like for the players. I mean, you get used to it, but it's such a different atmosphere, especially those teams that rely on that.
Yeah. I mean, I've not only for football, but for basketball. The home court does provide a big boost, I think, in basketball at all the venues I know that I go to regularly, whether it's Assembly Hall or the KFCM Center or Rupp Arena. Home court is a big factor. In football, it can be the same thing. I don't think we've seen it as much as Indiana just because they've never packed the place. So it comes back to that again. Can they get people to pack that place and turn it into – there's so many advantages that come for that. It not only is an advantage to your players of the emotional part of it, but it just creates a vibe and an atmosphere. When people are watching the game on TV, I think they take it more seriously, and it has to be something that's attractive to recruits. If you're a recruit and have been told to come to Indiana to play at the top level of the Big Ten, and you come to a game and there's only 35,000 fans there, you're probably wondering what's going on. But if you come in and every seat is full and it's a loud and raucous environment, then the message is delivered. And even though it's not one of the larger stadiums in the Big Ten, now that the end zones have been enclosed, I think you have a chance to turn it in. It's sort of like Oregon. Oregon is not a huge stadium, but they pack that place and fill it with music, and it becomes a happening.
Well, it was loud enough in '87 for Bo Schembechler to call a timeout because it was too loud. But that he got and was awarded